Welcome to Shadow Slave, the web novel that broke the internet. If you're looking for some dark fantasy, this is it. This novel has a dark, eerie vibe with a power level system and lots of mystery. Imagine a story so compelling it has captivated millions, becoming the most read English web novel to date, with an astounding 4.9 out of 5 rating from over 1400 reviews, 140 million views, and 67,000 bookmarks. Shadow Slave has not only topped charts, but has also redefined the web novel landscape. So without further ado, let me tell you why you need to read this story right now. 3 reasons. 1. The main character is the best. Then you have the world building, and then the third, it's the lore and a portrayal of a grim reality. Now let's dive in straight away, no bullshit. Meet Sunless, better known as Sunny, Cockroach, and other 50 names that he has garnered over his adventures. You see, Sunny is not your typical protagonist. Sunny grew up in the outskirts of a ruined, war-stricken world, a place with shit human conditions. He is an orphan. He has learned to survive through cunning, lying, manipulating. He will do anything it takes to survive. And one day, the world decides to fuck him up even further, to screw him over. At age 16, he is stricken by the Nightmare spell. Now a little world building, the Nightmare spell is basically a huge disease that has plagued the world, in which if you are selected, you will fall asleep and you will have a nightmare, and if you die and become a monster, and if you survive, you get awesome powers that will let you fight against the oncoming horde that is coming to take over and destroy the earth. Pretty cool, but there's a catch. You see, most people, when they get infected by the nightmare and they enter it, they usually get a power to help them go through it. A special sword, the ability to shoot out flames, enhanced perception, something crazy that will help them. But Sunny's first nightmare? It's downright impossible to survive. It's like the world wants him dead. He is thrown into a slave caravan. He's a slave in his nightmare. He's a slave wearing ragtag clothes, he's barefoot, and he's chained, going up a freezing mountain with no food and barely no water. Worst of all, there's a big ass terrifying monster chasing the caravan. So Sunny, with no power and already frail body, has to survive only using cunning and deceit, which he does. He has to lie to his allies. He has to escape the monster. He has to fight death. Eventually he goes up this mountain, this big ass mountain, this snowy mountain. I won't spoil you too much. He's the only survivor. The monster is on his back. With some miracle he makes it to an abandoned temple. He sees the altar and he spills some blood over the altar, praying that something would help him. And it does. He prayed to the gods, and the gods were supposed to be dead. But they listened, and they killed the monster for him, thus concluding his nightmare. When you complete the nightmare, you receive an aspect, and you receive, if you're lucky, a true name. Sunny got very good at both. He got a divine aspect. Fucking divine, it's the top tier, it's unheard of. You have the beginning one, which is dormant, and you have the max one, which is divine, and you have 5 ranks in between. And he got a true name, which is lost from light. And he got the power to control shadows. His shadow is alive, he can use it to augment himself for further power boosts, and to use stealth, and to send the shadow elf to scan things. I won't give you too much spoilers. The kick is, when you receive powers, you also receive a flaw. After all, you can't be too perfect. And Sunny's flaw is super well written. It's what makes him the best character ever. You see, Sunny's flaw is, he cannot lie. He is the most honest man in 2 worlds. The man he used to thrive on deceit and manipulation to go through life just got that stolen from him. Now he has to survive, and he learns to lie by telling the truth, downplaying his skill and making him seem crazy. You see, another flaw is that if somebody says his true name aloud, he becomes their slave for life. So he has to battle fate and keep people from finding out his name. So a bit more context for you. There are multiple worlds in Shadow Slave. You have the real world, which is Earth, where most people live. Usually people that haven't been plagued by the nightmare, or people that have completed the nightmare and are just and prefer to stay there. And then you have the dream world, which is where all the bad guys are, the monsters. It's a horrible place where time is meaningless. The laws of the normal world don't apply there. Nobody likes being there. And that's where the most of the story takes place, the dream realm. And the world building, man, it is so fucking big. I have not read another novel with such a good world building as this. Everything is so mysterious, it's dark, it's grim, it seems hopeless, it is curious, it is badass, it has cool ass names, it's dope. And that leads me to my favorite part in all of the novel, and yes, I have read up to date 2000 and almost 200 chapters. I have read all of them twice. And that is the first arc, The Forgotten Shore. And let me tell you something, this is the best arc you will read in all of Webnovel, by far. And I have read a lot of web novels, and I will tell you why. When Sunny survives his first encounter with the nightmare, he receives his power and he goes to this human academy to prepare him for his actual real taste of the nightmare. In the winter solstice, everybody infected by the nightmare will go attack a nightmare seed, and if they succeed in living through it, they will be known as true awakened. They're supposed to be sent to a location known in the dream realm, a location that humanity is aware of. But you see, that's where it all goes wrong. Sunny is sent to a completely alien, harrowing location, the Forgotten Shore. It is a harrowing and terrifying place. Just for further context, his first encounter in that space, he was drowning in a pitch black ocean with no concept of direction, being chased by a fucking nightmare shark. Miss me with that, I don't want to be chased by a shark. He manages to escape to this slab of stone that provides some shelter, and it's actually a decapitated statue, and he's 20 feet in the air, and at night there's the sea, and at day the sea goes back and reveals these huge corals that are teeming with carapace scavengers, like 4 meter tall carapace monsters that want to eat you. And there he finds his cohort for the remaining of the story, and the other two main characters, Nephis and Cassie. Nephis, which a fire swordsman, and Cassie the blind seer. She's blind, yeah. And they learn to survive through that whole ordeal. And another thing that's fascinating is that in the Forgotten Shore, everything seems like a fight for survival. It is hopeless, but somehow they make it through it, not through some crazy powers, but through logic and through cold, calculated actions. It's not easy. They do it. They don't have some magic power-ups, but they make do through sacrifice. And another thing, in the dream realm, usually the nightmare is cruel, but he's not that cruel. He will pair you up with monsters that you can defeat, at least. He won't make you face a titan. I'll make another video with power scales, so you're not as confused. But in the Forgotten Shore, they make you face monsters. All monsters are at least one rank above you, so it is basically impossible to survive, for normal people that is. But Sunny and his cohort do. Seriously, you have to read it. I cannot explain it to you that well, you have to feel it, you have to read it. I read this in like a day and a half. I was so addicted, I almost didn't work. I just read it with a song, bruh, shit's cooking. And this is why you have to read Shadow Slave.